Greetings, ladies, greetings, and greetings, gents, if you happen to be following me after the fact. But I say ladies because generally speaking, my followers have been. I'm sorry about that. My phone went out and it is really acting up lately, but it is all good. I wanted to touch base with everyone, and I am trying to find the most efficient way to convey the information that I want to convey because I am in an active, very supportive team, a network of groups on Facebook, which all have very similar goals and purposes, which is all about our happiness, our upgrading, our leveling up our lives, and really just generally making better choices. And one of the things that I discuss the most in my personal IMs on Facebook is the issue of dating. A lot of women are wanting a lot of insight, detail on how to best go about the art and the finesse of dating. And of course, I'm not a specialist, I am not an expert. I don't have degrees in dating. I think I would after everything that I have experienced over the past couple of years, but I do have that experience. And the thing that has worked for me is what I want to share here with you today. Because I am at the stage where I am about to get married, and we're really, really excited about it. Excuse me, I'm going to adjust this camera a little bit. We're really excited about things that are coming up. And I have to say, as I always do, that one of my sister programs is a program run by Connie Lauren Walker, and it's called The Laws of Enchantress. Now, I've been actually working on quote unquote dating for some time, but I was not really able to achieve the results that I wanted until I entered her group. And that's for another discussion, but I will put the links below. One of the things that I want to share with you all is the idea of high value dating. And when I first started dating, of course, I was not in the mode of high value. And so I was really, really thinking about dating from an opportunistic point of view. I'll just be quite honest. And the reason that I was thinking about life and dating from that point of view is because I truly did not believe that there were good men out there, that there were worthy men, that there were men who uh, were marriage minded, were focused on honesty, treating a woman well, and not attempting to get over on her. And it's the same clearly in the other party that most men, not most, maybe I should rephrase that, a lot of men do have this idea that women are on the same game. So when it comes to dating, when I always tell people that it's the most amazing that on these dating apps and these dating websites, most men and have this phrase, no games, don't have time for games, don't have time for playing around. And so I always ask the question, it's time to play games, and that's both the men and the women. Then who is it that's playing the games so that both the men and women are putting that on their profile? Because both of them are experiencing game. And so you really have to look at that. And that leads me into the discussion that I really want to discuss is high value dating. And high value dating, just like any other worthwhile endeavor that we embark upon in our life, really comes from a place that you are stable and content from within. So it starts from within yourself. If you are still maneuvering your life from an external point of view, then you will find that you are experiencing many things that you don't actually want to experience. But because you have not moved from an inner state of clarity and peace, you will find that you're not really able to capture the really sweet, the really wonderful feelings, and the really wonderful experiences that can come from living purposefully and engaging in acts such as dating from a high value standpoint. And so I wanted to cover some of those things that I consider key attributes of high value dating. And I wanted to share some of the outcomes of heeding this type of dating. So, the first thing, as I mentioned before, is that your high value dating starts from within yourself. And so, just like every other aspect of life, and as all of you know who have been following me, is that I very much adhere to universal laws as well as the law of enchantress. And as I think about that and I apply it to dating, I realize that this can't be separate from the way in which I live my life. In fact, this type of dating should be an extension of my life. So if I am an component or an adherent and a proponent of high value lifestyle, and being a high value woman and finding your value and finding your balance in your life, I would certainly recommend applying that to your dating. So, with that, one of the things that I found made a profound difference in my dating experience was intentionally focusing on dating myself first. And you may have heard of this concept before, but it's really and truly a beautiful experience when you embark first not on seeking pleasure outside of yourself, but seeking pleasure inside of yourself. And so your self care rituals are super, super important. And we talk about that in Connie's Laws of Enchantress group. We talk about that in myself and Dr. Portia's Level Up Charm School. And it's something that we really, really advocate for, because when you focus on your self care, when you focus on you first and making sure that your body is cared for, you tend to experience a certain high vibration, a high frequency of exquisite, charming sense of relaxation and beauty. You tend to focus in on what makes you feel good, what makes you look good. And as you are focusing on that, you direct your attention to the things that you desire the most, which, as a feminine being, that is paramount to our success in attracting the things that we most care for in our life. So, in other words, when we are when we are attracting the things that are most paramount to us in our lives, we then begin to multiply our pleasure. And I tend to think that as divine feminine beings, we are pleasure centers. We seek beauty and pleasure and ease and receptivity. So when we care for ourselves and we put ourselves first, I think that that is the first and I don't want to say final frontier, but it is pretty darn up there. It's pretty high on the list in terms of your accomplishments. If you are able to accomplish a consistent self care routine where you place high value on feeling good, on looking good, on it experiencing pleasure within your body. And I'm not simply speaking from a sexual point of view, I'm speaking from an energetic point of view. I think women, I think the feminine energy is one that craves feeling good. It craves relaxation and beauty. But we are not necessarily used to that because we don't focus on that. We don't put that first because we are wearing all these other hats and all these other roles. So we are mother, we are wife, we are sister, daughter, aunt, we are an employee, business owner. And so we tend to, due to our nurturing nature, put ourselves last on the totem pole. And so, how does this relate to dating? If you consider that you would like a partner, a male counterpart to your experience in this life, the first thing that you really want to do is begin to also take care of yourself. Because when you show up as a high value woman who clearly has an energetic vibe of care, of time, of value in yourself first and foremost, it is very difficult for another individual, whether it's male or female, to treat you any less than the ways in which you are treating yourself. And if they make that mistake because they are blind, I don't, it could just be a fluke in nature that they would still attempt to enter your queendom, so to speak, and they make the mistake of not valuing you, you are uh, immediately putting them on notice that that is not the experience that you have come to have, and goodbye. And so when you do have quality experiences on your own, when you build up a cadre or a plethora of quality experiences, it becomes second nature to you to have those experiences. When you build a track record of feeling good, looking good, eating well, treating yourself, it only makes sense that the vibration that you emit, your aura, is such that a well qualified counterpart would recognize it immediately and value you more because you have placed yourself above um, the rank and file. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I, having had a good amount of experience on these, for instance, online dating sites, on freestyling, just going out and attempting to network and meet people, you will eventually run into a general stream of thought. And that is a general stream of thought amongst the women. And then it's also, a general theme that runs amongst the men. And it just seems like everybody is waiting in a rather muckish, tiny pool or pond. And only those who elevate themselves out of that and stand out and emit and reflect a different energy are able to experience something different than what the rank and file are experiencing, and really not having a good time with, because clearly, per the profiles and per some of the many exchanges that I had, I could tell that a lot of people were frustrated, they were angry, they got involved with someone and they didn't work out. They were telling them, they wanted this and the other person said that, but they were doing something else. And it was always the finger pointing outward, that it was the other person's fault, that they represented themselves as single and actually they were married, or they said they liked this and that, or that they were really interested, and then every time it was time to set up a date, either the date was canceled, or it was just always something, and there was such a level of dissatisfaction. And I learned so much from that because I was looking at it from a scientific point of view, in a way of just like because I had been in long-term relationship for over, 20 years. And so my getting out on the dating scene in my 40s, when I had not been on that scene since college, it was a whole different world for me. And so I wanted to really kind of understand what's going on. And we didn't have like social media dating as we did back in the day, in the early 90s. So I really wanted to just investigate and understand, where is the new mindset? What is the group think at this point? And to be honest, it left a lot to be desired, even though I understand that everybody is where they is. And some people are finding success with that. I personally didn't. And it wasn't until I made the decision to include my dating into um, my general practice and way of living, my mindful living, setting an intent, setting a purpose, remaining focused on it, remaining positive, and setting clear boundaries, that I began to experience what I wanted. But sometimes our attention shifts during the dating process. Maybe we want to start out with, oh, I'm just looking for something casual. And then after several months of something casual, we realize, you know what, that was a total waste of my time. And now I'm looking for something a little bit more serious. But sometimes we don't really know how to go about it because a lot of us have fears. We have been told or we have experienced that the men that we seem to be attracting, and I'm talking from a woman's perspective, and it can certainly be that way from a man's perspective, but that, the person that we seem to be attracting is not willing to explore something serious. Even if they say they are looking for a long-term relationship, a lot of people are on this uh, idea that there are certain things that you just have to say. Otherwise, you won't even get your foot in the door with this woman or this man, whoever, whatever floats your boat. And so that's where the quote unquote game comes in, because if a person is wanting a variant on open or casual relating and dating and even sex, they have found that those who just straight out say, hey, looking for nothing serious, I just want sex or whatever, they didn't have good experiences with them because, you know, those type of individuals were a little way too far out there, or they were unsavory, whatever it is that was happening with that. And so they determined that, well, if I want a little bit higher quality, if I want more to this experience, um, then I'm going to need to jump to a different pool. And if you jump to that other pool, then that pool includes stability, it includes long term, it includes, um, you know, a little bit more involvement, a little bit more personal involvement and investment. And so they want to jump into that pool, but they don't actually want what that pool wants or what that pool claims that they want. They actually wanted the previous smaller pond, but now because they feel like they want a little bit higher quality while still having the casual, no strings attached situation in this other area. And so it becomes a catch 22, and they're jumping back and forth and they're saying they want this, but they're behaving in a different way when it comes right down to it. So, in other words, they don't really want to date, they don't really want to spend any money. They basically want a Netflix and chill, but they just don't want, whatever it is, whatever it is that they don't want that they're seeing in that other pool. And so when you're in this secondary pool, which is about long-term dating, you're not just looking for Netflix and chill. Now you're running across all these people who claim that they want what you want, but when it comes right down to it, they're not really trying to get to know you. They're not really taking you out. They're not asking for a date in a traditional sense. And they're doing pretty much all the things that you would expect from someone in the other arena. And now you're confused. And so there is yet an additional, very different pond that I had to eventually jump into, and it made all the difference in the world. So once I began to up my own sense of self care, once I began to date myself essentially, once I began to experience what I really like, what it feels like to be pampered and adored, and to take care of myself um, from the inside out, I began to crave that more. I began to look for replicas of that experience in all areas of my life. And as I was doing that, I began to um, understand that I need to do this more purposefully, mindfully. I need to have this make sense to myself so that I'm not out here experiencing random results which don't feel good. Because the whole goal of our law of attraction life, our desire to experience our greatest good, is that it has to feel good, it has to feel right, and it has to be something that we really believe in. So when we talk about our self care rituals, when we talk about taking care of ourselves, we really want to become so adjusted to it, so acclimated to this new stratosphere that it feels good, it feels right, and that our vibration is not presenting anything in contrast to that which we say we want. And so there's a freedom that comes from that, because once we have decided on that, then we begin to realize, okay, I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't want the third, but I do want this and I do want that. And it feels great when I'm experiencing this other thing. And wouldn't it be nice to have that over there, or this here, or that there, or this within me reflected back to me in another person? And so then we begin to make a very purposeful list of traits and qualities that we want. And we begin to nail down, what is it that I really want to experience from this dating? Am I looking for marriage? Am I looking for not marriage, but long term relationship? Am I looking for mutual respect? Um, in whatever it is that I'm looking for. So you got to really nail it down in terms of, even though it's still a fluid nail, but you got to make some sense out of what you're doing. And so once you've made your list of your traits, and these are all based on you being in the mode of your own personal self care. You're feeling good. You're feeling high value. You feel like, you've put yourself first. Um, and it just feels so good. When you're feeling that well within yourself, that sense of wellness, that's when you go about writing that list. That's when you go about creating, your list of traits that you highly value in another individual, and you begin to design your experience. So, one of the things that we talk about in the Level Up Charm School group, as well as in the Laws of Enchantress, is that we really want to understand that we are the directors of our life. We are the initiators of our desires, and then that we are able to design. And as if we are producing a movie, we're able to design our experiences. We're able to decide what we will and will not give our attention to and stick to it because we value it. It's not a strain or a struggle. And once we design the life that we want and the experience that we want, well, then we can see how very easily we are able to fit the dating and or a man or an individual or a woman into that design, because they would naturally fit if they're resonating on that same vibration. And so it becomes something that's ease, something that's beautiful, something that is worthwhile and is not a struggle for the other person to seamlessly fit into, your flow. Not to say that you don't make adjustments along the way. There are some compromises that are sometimes made because we are different individuals. We're different beings. But at the end of the day, the core values that you both hold are not, you know, in contrast to one another. They don't create such major conflicts that you consider removing yourselves from each other's lives. And so once you've set those traits, then you are quite comfortable, quite free with, raising your flag, with stating clearly, this is what I want. This is who I am, and this is what I want. This is what I desire. And this is what I'm looking for on these dating platforms or out in public. If you meet somebody and they say, so what are you looking for? Once you have developed this system and this history of taking care of yourself and the confidence that it brings, because now you see the reactions of others in your life, coworkers, friends, family, people you don't even know in stores, the way in which they treat you when you are dressed well, you feel good, you look good, you smell good, and you just have this sense and aura around you that I take care of myself. That's first and foremost. I take care of myself emotionally, physically, mentally, and it's something that people can sense. We're not idiots. We are still sentient beings. And so once you experience that, you can say with confidence, this is what I want. And you won't feel fearful about, well, if I tell him up front that I'm looking for marriage, will he run away? Will he get scared and, you know, fly off the deep end? Who knows? And so I don't want to say that up front, as a lot of us sisters have been taught that, you don't lead with that. But the best results that I got and the fastest results that I got is when I led with that I've been dating for a while. I was getting to know the new world out here, the new world of singledom and dating. And to be honest, after many years of healing myself, I'm in a great place. Feel good about myself. Life is really, really good. But it would be nice to share this really, really good life with someone else who is experiencing a really, really good life. And so, yes, I am marriage minded, I'm marriage oriented, and I am looking for a man, as Connie Lauren Walker would say, with a marriage culture, a culture of marriage in his upbringing, or who at least highly values it, has educated himself enough to where, um, he's fully looking forward to the married life and everything that comes from it. When you are able to set it out there, just like flat am, like, wow, here it is. I'm looking for marriage. I'm looking forward to creating a stable family and healthy home environment. These are the things that I value. Then you cut out 80. I'm just giving a number out there. That's what it felt like to me in my experiences. And I was going on 5 to 6 dates a week. Um, you cut out like 80% of the riffraff when you say up front, marriage minded, um, and I am looking for a courtship, a man who values courtship. And there are certain other keywords that I give my dating clients who come to me and need help with setting up profile, the photo, how to interact with these men, things to look for, red flags, as well as welcome signs. And so there's a lot of things that are like just in your face, but if you don't know to look for them, then you'll miss it and you'll end up wasting your precious time. Now, at my age, uh, I don't have that time to waste. I don't want to waste the time. And it's not necessarily about my age, but clearly, I can keep it real and say that I'm not 20 years old and or without children, so that, I have the next 20, 30 years in front of me to really figure these things out, just in terms of going along with the steady progression of, dating and then marriage and then children and all that comes with it. That's a good 25 to 30 years of your deep involvement in each of those steps in the process. So, totally get it, but I'm at the end phase of much of that. And so I'm at a different stage. And I really didn't want to spend the next, 3 to 4 years on this dating circuit, so to speak. And so when we emotionally, physically, and spiritually take care of ourselves, um, a whole lot of things become clear because we understand when we fall out of that self care, how we feel and what happens in our life and the choices that we make. And as we get older, we begin to understand that we don't want to waste our time on choices that are based on a sense of lack, choices that are based on a sense of restriction, on a sense of not valuing ourselves, because every time we've done it, we have paid dearly. And I know y'all know what I'm talking about. We've all paid dearly from it. So that's why I wanted to share with you, think positively, put your best foot forward, and also set your standards, and absolutely do not be afraid to speak on them and to speak on them often, and not from uh, a conceited or a problematic standpoint, but from a level of inner knowing that's a very calm and peaceful inner knowing that this is what I want, this is what feels good. I can't wait to, until this, materializes into my life. I can't wait to experience it. I can't wait to think about all of the other experiences that will come from this particular experience. I can't wait to uh, call more of these into my life. So when you're dealing with that, it feels good. It feels wonderful. And isn't that what we're here for? It's to feel good. So your dating experience really, if we are walking in our truth, it will never be as traumatic or as draining and exhausting as it is when we are not standing in our truth, when we're not purposeful, when we don't really have a plan, when we're really just out here doing stuff, or we, on some other things that are not related to long term marriage, um, family wealth building, and all of the things that we kind of discuss in the group. So, it really all depends on what you want. If you're wanting something serious and stable, you got to state it up front. My honey, personal relationship that I have, he really welcomed just how clear I was on what I wanted, and just how, it wasn't something that I was hemming and hawing and pussyfooting around. I was very, very clear that this is what I want, and I'm not settling. I'm not going to waste my time either. But yet I was very polite, very relaxed, very confident, and really enjoying the me and who I am and who I was at the time when I met him. Um, Enjoying that aspect of myself to the point where, it almost makes a person think, well, shoot, what's going on? Look like they got a party going on. You know how sometimes you can pass by a place and maybe there's like a concert going on and all of that. And, they're really just like, that sounds fun in there. Let me go see. What are we doing? And so it's kind of like that when you have your life so full and your self-care heightened up to the next level, and you're enjoying yourself. When you have that going on, people want to know what's going on. Can I get in on that? How can I see who you are and what you're doing? And people want to feel good innately. And so when you're like that, when you have that going on within yourself, that's the way it feels like when another person meets you as a high value woman and they realize that, oh my gosh, this is something different. This feels good. Like, I don't feel drained when I'm with this person. They've always got something interesting going on. They're always talking about interesting subjects because you're a person who is always studying. You're always, inspiring yourself. You're always learning new things. A part of your self care is not just your body, hair, makeup, and whatnot, but again, like I said, from the inside out, which means that you're constantly focusing on learning more. Expanding your horizons, elevating yourself. You've got things that, you've got a bucket list, and look at your bucket list often and say, hey, I always wanted to learn how to, paint, or I always wanted to take a pottery class. I always wanted to learn gardening. I always wanted to learn more about home decor, things of that nature, where you're always keeping your mind fresh. You're keeping your interest fresh. You're staying passionate about ideas and things. And so, again, that is a part of self care in my mind, that it's not just the physical, but it's the mental. And the emotional, because when you're inspired mentally, your emotions are involved. Your emotions are having healthy experiences. And the more that you have that, the more that you are just building up your library of pleasure, your library of exquisiteness, your library of interest. And so that when someone else is interacting with you and you just naturally bring up, oh, I just had, went to a pottery class, or, oh, I just learned about, expressionist artwork, or, whatever it might be, that it's like, oh, really? And then you talk about that. And so you're always in a space of learning and exploration and sharing ideas with others. But if you're stuck in the rut of drama, not taking care of yourself, and settling, and closed environments, closed mentality, then you're not going to be able to have that experience, and you're not going to be able to attract the type of man who is looking for that. And it's high value men or high value women that are looking for that same type of attribute in their counterpart. And so again, that's where I come back full center, full circle, excuse me, and say that it's about you first. It's about becoming fully enthralled in your own life, about embracing, who you are, and expanding your boundaries, so that as you include dating into your life experience, it's not a horrible experience. It's not something that is a drain on you. And as soon as it looks like it might be that, then you value yourself and your time and your energy enough to say, whoa, no, nope, we're not doing that. And you cut it off. I mean, and then you keep it moving. And as soon as I got to that point where I was able to just clearly state, this is who I am, this is what I enjoy, this is what I like, no, no ulterior motives. I'm literally looking for my counterpart. As soon as I made that adjustment in my life, everything changed, like literally within a month's time. And so I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the experience of meeting the love in my life, and really getting to that next level. And so I'm really, really excited to share that with you. And I have so many other experiences that I want to share. And so I hope this video has been helpful, just in kind of understanding the mindset of high value dating, and how it starts with yourself first, and the beauty that comes from that experience. And so I wish you all a really, really good day, and much love, peace, and blessings. And so I want to turn this off. Okay, I have no idea how to turn this off. Gosh, there are no options. Maybe I have to turn it this way.